This on Marketplace were listed for parts and not running. He was asking $300 for everything, and I was able to get it for $240. I didn't even know that TM Racing existed before this. It's a 2002 TM 250 Enduro. That means original Brembo brakes, hydraulic clutch, all-in shock, HGS exhaust, IMS pegs, XL rims, and an oversized tank. I started tearing into the engine as soon as I could, and I quickly realized that everything was basically caked up in rust and it's been sitting for a really long time. And I was wondering what the heck happened. And why didn't the fool that had it before me cover everything up? Because everything is caked up. It is really nasty. So it's been sitting for a long ass time. It turned out that the entire crank, main bearings, everything was seized. The piston, crank, main bearing seized. I was able to get it loose with a bit of WD-40 and a lot of work. This is one of the first parts of the flywheel. It separates in two, there's apparently, but yeah, here's the crankpin bearing, really nasty, crusty. Pin as well seems okay, reusable. Same with the piston. It's got some wear marks in it, but overall it actually looks really good. Still got those nice little marks on the side and hatches like it should. Someone was trying to place this little seal that sits between the water pump and the exhaust valve, separating oil from water. And after tearing everything apart and just letting it sit for years, they never finished the project and just sat and rusted. So the reed valve was exceptionally crusty, like most things on this bike. So I started cleaning everything up. I used a steel brush to clean most of it up, get as much of the rust off, dunked it in WD-40 and torched the hell out of it until it started glowing to really get this anodized look. Mainly to protect it and get it nice both with the screws and with the guard. Plates are made out of carbon, so they don't have to be replaced either and are in perfect condition. Well, getting the engine part was exceptionally difficult, plus I haven't done this before, so this is my first time. A lot of fingering and back and forth, but I got it. Okay, upon finally getting this apart, to get some further inspection to get a proper look at the main bearings and the crank and checking out the gears, turns out the crank is, well, as expected, trash, which I kind of already knew. Both sides are really bad. The crank is still stuck to the left side here. Getting that out was not easy. The main crank seal is in shit condition, as you can see. The seal on the left side is actually in pretty good condition, maybe reusable if it comes to it, but I'm not going to. I'm getting a new one. It turns out the crank has some rust to it and some pitting, both on the crank itself and in the connection rod top and bottom. It is very mild, so it's definitely reusable. So I'll definitely be running it like this, but I'm definitely going to clean it up as best I can. All the other bearings inside here, though, is actually in amazing condition, so just clean everything out, get it ready to go back together. It also turns out this is snapped out of the clutch basket, the inner one. There are ways to fix this. What you can do is you'll basically just drill a hole through this and tap it from underneath and put a bolt through it so that it holds itself in place and make sure it doesn't hit anything. But you gotta do this on the opposite side as well to make sure that your balance is perfect. Here's a closer look at the rear shock, the all-in rear shock. I cleaned it up and adjusted the compression on it and rebound, so it's ready to put into the bike. Same with the front forks. So I'm excited to see how they feel out. Obviously just adjust depending. But yeah, I'm excited. Just a close look at the chain guides. They're really rough. I did make a little quick fix for the time being so I can run it. But I definitely need to fix that. I have some other plastic that I intend to use to do just that. Just to fix it up. Here's another hole in the chain guard on the top. So yeah, overall here's the IMS pegs, which are also in pretty good condition, which is surprising judging by how old all of this is. Closer look at the Applied Racing triple clamp, which is pretty cool. One thing that is missing is the top caps for this, for the handlebar clamps. They're just gone, so I need to get new of those, which is fine, cheap, whatever. Let's get a closer look at the frame. The frame is steel frame. It is exceptionally strengthened and it's beefier than most frames I've ever seen on dirt bikes. On the bottom right side, it also has a clutch basket protector. But yeah, HGS exhaust, which was original on the bike, and an FMF pack that I intended to clean up, and they both came with the bike. But yeah, I also have an FMF silencer. But yeah, I just need to clean this one up, the Pro Circuit one up, and get it back on there. Here is the swing arm bolt, which was really bad because knocking it out, I destroyed the threads. So I fixed those. I ordered a thread kit for that and fixed the threads on both ends. So that's nice and working. Also fixed the threads on the chain adjusters. Those were messed up. I do have to go in there and probably make that bigger and put bigger bolts in there. For now, this will work just fine for the time being. Someone snapped a bolt in there before and re-threaded this side, but you know, the threads are fine and it works just fine. It works. I tested everything, so it'll work. But the other side, I definitely need to re-thread with a bigger bolt. This side is fine though, as you can see right there. But yeah, here's the linkage. I've redone and re-greased the linkages, and they are in great condition. They're nice, and all the O-rings are nice and working and not crusty, surprisingly for how old they are. Maybe someone replaced them at some point, but you know, I replaced and greased every single one. There was one this is for where the brake pedal goes through. This one had roller bearings in it as well. Here's one on the swing arms. I re-greased and fixed those up. Greased on all the O-rings. So yeah, those are in nice condition and ready to roll. Same with the roller bearings. Put new bearings in them. The chain is an original chain with no link to take it apart, so that was a bitch. So I'm definitely replacing that. Maybe using it if I don't get a new one. XL rims, as you can see. Also a bit closer look at the rotor to check that out. It looks at both of them front and rear in good condition. Nice and thick. A bunch of life left on them. The rear wheel is an 18-inch rim, which is Enduro size. Pretty common Enduro size, only the Enduro box. 19 is usual back tire. Also, it has a kickstand. It has 2 stators and magnetos. Here's the one in the stator cover, and the one that goes on top of that again. So there's 2 of them, one for light and one for normal spark. The rubber brakes front and rear is in pretty good condition. Re-greased all the sliding pins, both in the front and the rear. Went through them both. Cleaned them up as best as I could. Made them work again. Here is all the parts that I've gone through, the cylinder, everything that I've gone through. I bagged it and made sure that it will not rust in the meantime that I'm working on everything else. Just cleaning everything up and bagging it. There's the clutch right there. Everything is bagged. Another thing that's missing is the air boot that goes between the air box and the carburetor. The front wheel axle spacer is gone, so I made my own. Let's look at the carburetor. That's also cleaned up and nice and sealed off, so nothing gets into it. Okay, the plastics were basically... well, they were cracked, in pretty bad condition. He'd zip tied them before to keep them together, which I like this drift, like this stitching look. I actually really like it, but I've been bracing it to make it stronger and make it actually proper so that it actually holds itself together. I've just been using metal pieces like that and melted it into the plastic. Here's I just heated it up with a torch until it started glowing, just like that. Just hold it above the flame. Just like that. When it's glowing, just wait until it stops glowing, then it stab it into the plastic really well. I did some testing before this to make sure that I knew how hard to push it down, so I didn't push it through. I used some test plastic, which I advise you do as well if you try this. But this worked great. I braced the whole thing. I did the exact same thing with the rear fender. I'll show you that to you in a bit. There it goes out. That's just, well, there you go. And then after you're done and you kind of stabbed it in there, you can just use a flathead screwdriver like this one, and you just heat that thing up just like you did, and you just push it back together. Just seal it, just like that. Here's the crack from the outside. It went pretty far back, so it needed some extra bracing to make sure it didn't bend or fold under weird bends, which it did, but now it's braced really well. As you can see, there's no flexing, it doesn't do anything, it just holds together like it's never was snapped. Here's a little test. I'm actually pulling on this and breaking on it pretty hard, and it's holding up a lot better than I'm pulling as hard as I can. It's not coming apart. I'm still going to use zip ties under here. So here's the rear fender with a huge ass crack. Like I said, getting these plastics is impossible. So I'm saving the ones that I have, and I have 2 other ones, so I just point it out, and then 2 extra ones at the end. Another strength test, bending, it holds up pretty great. It actually worked out a lot better than I thought. Like I said, I'm still using zip ties on top of all of this. Sadly, the tank did not come off unscathed. There's threaded inserts on the tanks. Well, they rounded out. I hope you enjoyed the first part of that video. I am obviously working as much as I can to try and get that bike back together. I am actually really excited to finally have a bike again, and I can't wait to get this thing back. Thank you for watching.